Now, briefly, I'm going to cover creating a clutter-free legacy again. We could go on for a long time with this, but these are such important foundational principles. And you'll notice that I say clutter-free legacy, and that's because I want people to think about really what they're passing down. I've read lots of stories. We were one of the featured organizing companies on TLC's Hoarding Buried Alive. I have seen the frustration of people who are, the caretakers for their parents or whoever, and having to deal with all of that. And I can tell you what I told my parents when they moved. I told them that they need to get rid of the stuff, because if they passed on, or when, obviously they passed on, if they left a bunch of stuff that my sister and I wanted to have really good memories about, and we didn't want to have to come in and clear through a lot of stuff. We wanted to, if we were going to have to do that, we were going to come in, pick out a couple of things, and call 1-800-GOT-JUNK for the rest. Because I didn't want to get angry and frustrated to having to go through everything. So that's what I talk about in terms of a clutter-free legacy. What are you passing down? We'll cover a little bit more about that later. Implementing boundaries. This is crucial, okay? So if you have a bookshelf that's full of books, and you also have books on the floor and on the table and everywhere else, we need some boundaries here. So the boundary might be, I have X number of bookshelves, and I only keep the number of books that fit into those bookshelves. And if more books come in, then we have to do a 1-in, 1-out. So that's a boundary. We also have time boundaries too. But again, this is just the foundation. Establish choices. Now, in addition to having taught in elementary school, I have 2 young nephews who live in Durham, so I see them quite a bit. 5 and a half and 8, so that's kindergarten and 3rd grade we've got. And my sister asked me last summer, before school started this year, to come down and help them get organized. Which is sort of interesting as an aunt, and actually a well-loved aunt, because I'm not quite the objective person, but I'm also not the mama. So when it came to looking at their stuff, I really did. It's like, we've got 3 things here. You get to pick 2 of them to keep. So therefore you get to choose 1 to go. It wasn't an option per se. One had to go, but they had the choice around it. So a lot of it is establishing what the choices are. And of course, as parents, a lot of that is both of the choices may be to your benefit. And then, either choice for them is not necessarily the best choice. So you can, I expect you to turn in your homework, or I expect that you'll miss TV. Here are your 2 choices. Turn in homework, miss TV. Does that mean they like either choice? Of course not. But they have choices. As adults, though, it's the same thing. I mean, if we go back to the bookshelf, okay, so we got the bookshelf, you're bringing in new books. Which books are you going to pick to leave? Or are you going to choose not to, and therefore, ignore that boundary that you set? Creating habits. Whether we're talking the 1-in, 1-out habit, whether we're talking about in the morning, having checklists. Some students, even the youngest students, need checklists to make sure they get ready in the morning. With the youngest ones, of course, we're going to have pictures. Toothbrush, clothes, whatever, whatever you want to use. And as they get older, it's just going to be a checklist that they might check off. It might be something that they have to move if they're more of a motor learner. So habits both in the morning and in the evening. Everything from, where the backpack goes, and what's going to happen if the backpack's not there. Maybe you have a place where backpacks going to live when they don't belong in their spot. And the consequence is they don't have it the next morning to take it to school, and then they don't have their homework. Giving notice to external clutter. So that's all the stuff around us. And whether you're the one who creates it, whether your child is the one who creates it, whether it's somebody else in the house who creates it, there's external clutter from lots of different sources. So you have to sort of do the stop no more kind of a thing. Again, this all weaves together, gets into the 1-in, 1-out kind of idea. Everything from, for example, in the adult world, mail. Guess what? 1-in, 1-out when it comes to like shoes and clothes makes total sense. We seem to forget it when it comes to the mail, but if you bring in 4 pieces of mail and you only have 1 going out, you now have some clutter. What can we say? So, again, put some parameters around Jane, who I really didn't like, gave it to me, that I can't possibly give it away. The thing is, again, that's passed down. So I actually once worked with a 12-year-old who was filmed for NBC, and the local affiliate, and she was ready to move along a lot of things, including a couple of purses. And her mom's like, oh, you can't get rid of that one. You know, Aunt Sally gave that one to you. I'm like, if she's ready to move it on, she gets to move it on. If you want to keep it, it goes to your space. Okay, because the child is ready to let it go. Again, we're looking at the clutter-free legacy. So if you're telling them they have to keep it because of such and such, we're not passing down a clutter-free legacy.